Hello and welcome to the June newsletter. My name is Michael. I've met most of you, and obviously you know Andrew Triplett, who's joining me as well. So look, it's summer. We're almost here. We've got a couple of weeks away before summer really kicks in down here in Dallas. We're feeling it, I assure you already. But as we go into the summer, I just wanted to take a moment and say, you know what? It's time to think about winter. I only say that half kidding. There are a lot of you that really are already thinking ahead, I'm sure, to the big event, the Christmas event that you have at the end of the year. So it's really actually not too early to talk about it. Andrew and I were discussing this earlier, and we thought, what better time to go ahead and start planning for how these events are going to be carried out than right here at the beginning of the summer. And you may or may not be aware, but TouchPoint has been offering an event ticketing capability for your Christmas event and the early year women's events that a lot of you have that we want to talk to you a little bit about today. It's not just a simple ticketing tool. It's also a fantastic way to kind of partner with your ministry efforts and help you better disciple folks, which may not make a lot of sense now, but I think it will after we give you a little bit more insight into what we do. So with that, I'd like to hand the mic over to you, Andrew, if you're okay with that. Can you just tell the folks who are listening a little bit about event ticketing?
So ticketing in TouchPoint is very similar to things that you've seen sort of just out there in the wild. If you ever bought tickets to a concert or a sporting event, something of that nature, you've seen a ticketing experience. You've gone through a process of indicating which seat you would like, selecting that seat, and then paying for it, and then receiving a ticket to gain access to that event. And in a nutshell, that's really what it is inside of TouchPoint.
Okay, so then, because I do talk to a lot of folks who ask about event ticketing, one of the things I always wrestle with is what do they already have access to in TouchPoint when they're having an event versus the benefits that event ticketing specifically will give them?
So if you're watching this, you're probably familiar with TouchPoint's registration features, which are very good and very robust. And there's a lot that you can do with them. You know, you're probably using registrations for things like camp and vacation Bible school, where you need to know the individual information for each person that is registering. So for camp, we need to know about this person's first and last name and allergies and meal plan and t-shirt size and so on and so on and so on. Now, ticketing can do all of those things, actually, but the difference is that at the end of that process, the individual is receiving a physical ticket that they can produce to come to the event. And with ticketing, typically, you're not asking as many questions. You don't need to know as much detail about each person that is coming. You really just need to know how many people are coming, who's going to be there. And so for a general admission type event, there's not a ton of difference between a registration and ticketing, aside from that ticket that you receive at the end. Ticketing also has really great real-time checking that prevents you from maybe overselling an event, because we're down to the millisecond checking to make sure that the number of seats that are available are the number of seats that are in someone's that are available to the individual who's in the purchase process right that moment. But then you also have the other side of things, which is reserved seating. And so reserved seating is, when you think of ticketing, that's probably what pops into your mind, is the ability to actually select which seats within a venue you want. So you might want the best seats in the house, section A, row 1. You can grab those 4 seats, or you would grab something else in the venue, just wherever you want to be. But that's the more true ticketing experience, and that is absolutely available within the system. And that's what most of our church partners are utilizing for their big events towards the end of the year.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Then if I'm sitting here in the audience listening to this, I'm thinking, okay, this sounds like Brushfire or Eventbrite, right? So if that's the case, why would someone choose to abandon that kind of a platform that they've probably been using and choose to use TouchPoint's event ticketing instead?
Yeah, so there are some really great systems out there. You mentioned 2 of them, Brushfire and Eventbrite. They do a really nice job, but we do have parity with most of the things that they're doing. So you can absolutely utilize TouchPoint. Some of the benefits of that are, first of all, that's one less system that you're paying for on a month-to-month basis. But secondly, we really, here at TouchPoint, we really want your database to be that single source of truth. We want that to be where you go to find information about the people that are in your community, in your orbit. So you might have someone who's been a member of the church for 30 years and they purchased a ticket for an event, and that's just a little bit more detail. That's a broader picture about that person. But then you might have someone else who's been in your database for a long time. They've never joined a Sunday school class. They've never been to a Bible fellowship event. But we can see now that they have purchased a ticket to our end of year event. And that helps us kind of understand what our approach might be when we go to make that phone call, send a text message, send an email, to try and get them plugged into the church and just know a little bit more about them and what makes them tick, so that we can minister to them more effectively.
Okay. And yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was opening with around being able to disciple folks. I think that's a really powerful side. In fact, it reminds me of something I'll share here in a moment. But before I do, tell me a little bit about what it's like getting this set up. Because, when you're a church, you're not putting on an event every week like an arena might be putting on, or a stadium might be putting on. Can you talk a little bit about how I would set up a venue and whether or not this is complex, and am I on my own? Just maybe share a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's a very robust tool. There's a lot that you can do with it, and there's a lot to know. But it does a great job of accomplishing what you're trying to do with each event. And that's where our team comes in to help you kind of decide how you're going to approach that setup. So you can build within the database. You can build what we call a venue, and you can have as many of these venues as you want. So you could set up the sanctuary, fellowship hall, anywhere really that special events are taking place within your building. There's no additional cost for any of that. You can just set up as many of those venues as you like, so that you can sell tickets to it. For that first event that you will be doing, that's really where we want to be the most involved. When I say we, I'm talking about the TouchPoint consulting team. So if you're watching this, many of you have worked with the TouchPoint consulting team. It's the same group of people that you'll be working with to set up your ticketed event, to get those venues in place. And then we're going to train you on how to do it on your own. We talk a lot about the fact that a lot of our church partners they'll just use these ticketed events for the big event at the end of the year. The Christmas play, those kinds of things, Christmas tea, and so on and so forth. And so by the time next year rolls around, you've probably forgotten a lot of how to set that event up, and that's perfectly fine. You just come back to our team and we'll help you get that in place. But again, we really want to train you so that you can do it on your own. But for that first go around, especially, we want to stick the landing. We want to make sure that you have all the tools that you need, that everyone is prepared, your team is prepared for all the things that they might encounter during the sales process. Because for some of our church partners, they put that on the website and boom, they have a huge group of people coming to grab those because it's the hottest ticket in town. And so we really want that to be as smooth as possible.
So they're never on their own. They're not going to be out on an island or anything. That's great to know. Well, thank you for sharing that. And if you're still listening and joining us, again, this is to me a very exciting technology. It's one we've had for a while, and believe it or not, it's one you have. You just may not have activated it yet. But Andrew brought up a point that I want to kind of focus on a little bit, because it reminds me of a quote from one of our partner churches where they had shared with me that they'd put on a Christmas event for years, and that historically people would buy tickets, they would attend, they'd leave, and they never heard from them again. But when they started using TouchPoint, when that person bought a ticket, their information was stored in the system. And they said, Michael, I don't know if you appreciate when people tell you that you're actually in ministry when you're in sales, but in that regard, you're partnering with us in ministry, because TouchPoint has equipped us through event ticketing to be able to reach out to those people who buy a ticket to our Christmas event and invite them to church and invite them to our other ministry opportunities. And so it's a true ministry and discipleship opportunity. So I hope that you'll reach out to me or my sales team and ask about it, because we'd love to talk about that part. You are a partner church to us because we want to partner with you in ministry. And to me, that's one of the most powerful ways that TouchPoint can, in fact, help partner with you in ministry. So thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful summer. Sorry to throw a little bit of a cold blanket and wet blanket on your summer by talking about winter, but it's coming, and it's time to go ahead and start preparing, and we'd love to tell you about event ticketing. Y'all have a great summer. We want to welcome you to this month's webinar, and If you want to go see a movie, you can do that. I hear Mission Impossible's good.
Sorry, we got to cut.
Do that again, please.
It's the newsletter.
That's why I went on to Mission Impossible. I was like, we're definitely going to have that as an outtake. Okay.
You're not going to wave or say bye, Andrew?
Say bye, Andrew.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, everyone.